Hello, I'm back with updates to uh, my brew of blue-white domain co- controlish prison deck. This deck is whole white-blue except of four territorial Kavus and Scion of Draco, which require you to have your domain lands to cast it. For 2 mana. Okay, previously I played the version with 3 Hiratsugu main and 3 Chalice of the Void main, but with Lurus gone, Hiratsugu is now more a sideboard card, but a pretty good sideboard card which can destroy the Affinity Shadow deck, Hammer, and similar decks. I think it's more of a sideboard inclusion for the current metagame. And so, and I had to put something instead of the Hidetsugu, and because I was constantly mana screwed in the previous version, I wanted to add one more land. So I added 23rd land, and now had to include something, and I decided to go with 4 subtleties main. So we have now a lot of free spells. So 4 Force of Negation, 4 Subtlety, 4 Solitudes, and a lot of 2 mana spells in Cows, Meddling Mages, Son of Dracos. Uh, and your 3 mana spells are Teferis and Spell Quellers. Aside from that, you have 3 Chalice of the Void and 4 Prismatic Endings. Okay, with Hiretsugu gone from main, I think currently Subtlety is a pretty good inclusion for main because there are a lot of Titan matchups, a lot of Yagmoth matchups, and a lot of creature matchups and 4 color controls and the fairies and similar. So I think Subtlety is best main inclusion for this version of a deck right now. But as the metagame changes, this deck is kind of metagame deck and can be always changed to be good against something. I'm still on 3 Chalice main, not 4th. Uh, Chalice is maybe the best card for this deck, but I'm still playing just 3 of them because I hate to draw more of them game 1. But you could probably play 4th one on sideboard, but sideboard is already packed with cards I really want to play. Okay, everything else is same as before, just inclusion of 23rd land and 4 subtleties main instead of Hidetsugus. Okay, so I played a couple of leagues with it, and people were asking when I'm going to update the list. And I'm still I just played 2 leagues and still didn't do 5 with it, but decided to make this video anyway, just to show that it can be played without Hiretsugu main, and it needs to be adjusted uh, in main to fit inside to fit current metagame and if you're playing, let's say this deck in your local, in your LGS, a local game store, you will also need to adjust it with cards in main that are good against decks in your metagame. So Okay, so if you have a lot of affinity, a hammer, and hardened scales, and decks like that in your meta, you will still play Hiretsugu in main like in my previous version. But the current MTGO metagame doesn't require it, and I think Subtlety will be better for the current period. So uh, having four meddling mages, spell quellers, forces, subtleties, solitudes, shells makes you pretty good against any combo decks. So meddling mage just is really good against them and against a large amount of current matchups. It's just bad against some matchups like which have a large amount of different removals and answers to all kind of threats. So let's say melee mage is bad against Jund. It's not very good against Grixis because they have so much different removals. It's kind of just 2/2 for 2 mana. So but against Tron, against Amulet, against Yagmoth, against combo decks, it can really lock them really good. So uh, especially in combination with Shellis and some forces, subtleties, spell quellers, you can run away with the game pretty easily. So I will just go through my last league. We will start from the last game. Okay, so this league was pretty close to 5-0. It was my second attempt with the deck. Okay, so um, game 5 was against Burn. I just played my Sign of Draco, turn 2, to make them not able to attack with Eidolon, but I didn't have a removal for the Eidolon at this moment. And I decided to play my cow and attack with Scion to pressure them. I'm now again attacking just with cow, holding Scion back. I decided to okay, let's just pause here. I decided to play my force because it saves me one life. And now, if they have two burn spells, I can again play my force and live on one life and just kill them. And at this moment, they are not able to play any more spells, even if they have land, because they have it down on a field, and that's it. So my two forces and two creatures won me the game. Okay, so game 2. Okay. Okay, let's just check the list. Okay, so for this matchup, I'm bringing in two Hiretsugu Consume Soul, but only when it's all I can really bring in for this matchup. Um, you could also bring in maybe two disputes if all your other stuff is kind of bad. Uh, but it's really not necessary. I think you just bring in two Hiretsugus in case they drove a hand with a lot of 1 mana creatures. And that's it. So I was playing second, so and I didn't have removal for Eidolon, so I just put my meddling mage in, named Searing Blaze in case they wanna trade, and I was forced to play my Force of Negation and their removal, so they can't attack here. And my mana was really awkward. I decided to go for basics, so I don't pay myself very much, and that probably cost me the game because I didn't draw my last land I needed. I had Scion now to put some pressure, but it was kind of too late. Okay, so I was forced to play my Solitude and live on 1 life. Try to. So at this point, my only out was drawing another Scion and attacking with Scion, and that would make them unable to cast any spells, and that would be it. But I drew my Meddling Mage, and it was game over. Okay, so when you're playing first, if you have creatures like Cow, uh, it's pretty good. So at this point, I decided not to shock myself to play Cow, but just to exile the Goblin Guide and play my Cow turn after. But unfortunately, they had better exile. But I had a Solitude on my top, and I was already on 5 mana, which was great. So I've now played my Solitude, exiled their Spear, they were tapped, which means I will gain 3 more life, and having Subtlety, Force of Negation is pretty good. I don't know, I'm not sure why my opponent didn't trade with Solitude here. Uh, but now it was pretty good for me, and they decided to attack with Goblin Guide. Pretty weird plays from my opponent. So I'm able to attack with Solitude again, but they had Deflecting Palm at this moment, and they put me on 1 life. But they were left with 0 cards in hand, and I had 2 Subtleties and Solitude on field, and drew Spell Queller, so that was it. Was that a game 3 or 2? That was game 3, right? Yeah, that was game 3, okay. Okay, so I'm going from last game to first one because first one was a loss, and I want to show it was. I should could have won that game. Just had a couple of bad rolls. Okay, so my opponent was mana screwed this game. I think I played game 2 first accidentally. My opponent was game screwed, was mana screwed this game, and I didn't have too aggressive hand, unfortunately, but they were stuck on 1 mana for a long time, so it was hard for them to get out of that situation. And I played Spell Queller here to start applying some pressure because I didn't draw my creatures, my other creatures that are more aggressive. And their play was great for me. I had my force of negation this situation because it would destroy my plane to just pressure them with my creatures. So I had prismatic ending and saved force of negation, put them on 3 life, and that was it. Okay, I think that was game 2. In game 1 I was playing first. I played my Scion. Had a pretty good hand with the Spell Queller Scion. So them playing Vren meant they probably have selected, but I wanted to kill Vren as soon as possible, so I played my prismatic ending. Okay, so drawing another meddling mage meant I have to play it, and I played my force of negation on their expressive iteration. I had a spell queller for second expressive iteration, and they put Yorion to hand, so at this moment I just played Meddling Mage on Yorion and attacked. Drew another spell queller, which was great in this situation, but still not good if they have like Fury or Solitude. And but having spell queller for second Omnat was over. Okay, so that was it. Win, a kind of weird win against 4-color Omnat. Okay, so again playing first against Urza deck. Played my Scion turn 2 to start applying pressure as fast as possible. I didn't see any point in bouncing Stoneforge. I just played my Shells on 1 to hold off their lot of 1 mana artifacts. They had a Ganyo in this situation, and they decided not to play not to play Caldera. And I was this moment I was most afraid of the Urza, so I played Meddling Mage on Urza. But it was kind of a bad situation for me. I wanted to kill a Stoneforge at this point to just hold them off from playing Caldera, but they find Prismatic Ending, which is kind of weird. I thought my meddling mage is pretty safe with Chalice on 1 because these decks usually play just portable hole. As far as I know, they don't play endings. Maybe they play one or two endings. But yeah, this ending definitely won them the game. They were able to grow their smith with a large construct token, which I was forced to get rid of and bounce, play my cow. It was a bad situation for me because now they're able to play their caldera and equip it on any of their creatures. So it was pretty much game over for me. I don't have a solution for that. It went too far, so that was it. Now they're able to just equip it on anything, and they have also large construct tokens and Urza, so that's it. And Doctor Foundry, okay. That was game one, pretty hard game, but after sideboard, I'm much better against this matchup. So have my spreading seas for their sagas, which is definitely very important. And me playing first with territorial cows is definitely hard for them. So they did have removal for my first cow, but I just played my second one and holding my spreading seas for their sagas. They again had Urza, but I had good hand, spreading seas. I destroyed their Spell Sentinel, um, drew another card, I play another spreading seas. There is a saga, which is pretty important. Play my second land, not play another land. I let them kill my Teferi. I wanted to draw more cards. They didn't have much at this point, so I just played my land, play my Cabo, a prismatic ending the Urza, and with the good cards in hand, that was pretty much over for them. Okay, I played my Scion to give my cows trample, and that was it. Okay, so game 3. Game 3, having Verter is definitely great against this matchup. Also, Spreading Seas, Prismatic Endings, these are all very good cards. Yeah, just had a good turn to play with Spreading Seas on the Urza Saga, drawing another card, holding my Subtlety. Okay, so Urza Saga Talisman was kind of a perfect play for my hand this turn, so I could just go Wear Tear on Saga and Talisman, which meant pretty much game over for them. They did attack me and put me to 8 life, but now I had 2 cows, removal, spell queller, subtlety. It was definitely over. So Yeah, just one spreading seas and one Verter can really destroy this deck. Uh, okay. Okay, so that was it. Um, game 4. Okay, so Tron. A pretty good hand against Tron here. I definitely use my force on Silver Scrying in, definitely in situation when they have tools or towers, and just play my shells on one, which is really great against Tron. Also, having Procedure in hand is great, and Meddling Mages per color is also pretty good. So, at this point, I probably should have played my Sun, but I holded my Spell Queller. Um, they didn't play anything, so I just put some Meddling Mage and Scion in hand, so they to make sure they can play Karn the Great Creator, because it was the biggest threat at this moment, them not having the Tron. And that was it. They conceded after that. Chalice on one is definitely great, and Meddling Mage in that situation to put on Karn is also important. So, game 2. Game 2, I'm definitely good against Tron with the Spreading Seas. Okay, so for game 2, against Tron, you bring in Spreading Seas and Verters. I think that's enough. I have Prismatic Endings for their Expedition map turn 1. I have Subtleties for their Planeswalkers, so it's a pretty good deck against Tron. I use my Force of Negation to counter their. And I drew another Spreading Seas, and also drew a Besiege, holding my Spell Queller. Drew my third Spreading Seas. Start attacking with the Spell Queller is pretty important because I can't just hold them off indefinitely. So, and I had the Besiege for the fourth Tron land. So at this moment, the most important meddling mage target is Wormcoil Engine, because I have Force of Negation in hand, and I can't beat Wormcoil Engine. So this was a pretty important play. So without this, I'm definitely in position where I can lose game easily. So I just continue attacking with my 2/2s. Another third turn clock. They did find Oblivion Stone, but I had another force. And Subtlety is definitely a good draw also. So that was it. Was this game 2? It was, I think. Yeah, this was game 2, yeah. Okay, this was game 2, and last game, unfortunately, a loss against blue-black Shadow Murktide deck, which I think I'm pretty favorable to win, but I just couldn't draw good game 2 entry. Game 1 they did discard my Shellis, but I had 2 Scion of Dracos, which is pretty hard for them to deal with. They need to cost uh, Bloodchief Thirst for 4 mana to kill this Sign of Draco, so it's definitely a problem. And they can't counter it with Drowning Loch or kill it, so yeah, as I said, they can just kill it with Bloodchief Thirst for 4 mana. Okay, that was it. Game 1, like an easy win. Game 2 is a bit harder when playing second, and also I had to mulligan to 5 cards 2 times, so that was pretty unfortunate. And unfortunate thing is I left 2 fetches in hand, which meant that my rest in peace will not go through. So if I drew another land this turn, I could probably resolve my rest in peace, which would probably win me the game. So that was pretty unfortunate. I didn't draw a third land, so it was a mistake to leave 2 Hidetsugu in hand and not the third land. Third land would definitely win me the game. They had removal, unfortunately, for my Kavu, and but I did have the ferry to bounce Murktide. They also misplayed here. They played their shadow before fetching. So now they were able to replay their Murktide, but they played it as a 3-3, which meant they have another, and that was game over for me. Okay, so time for game 3. Game 3, unfortunately, it was an okay hand, but draws weren't very good. And it was a close game, but my opponent discarded my Kabu. That was definitely most important here. I didn't have any turn to play, which is pretty bad for this deck. You kind of have turn play in most situations. And I just wasn't able to draw any more pressure like Scion or Cow. So I just played we were just passing turns, nothing happened. Maybe I should have played my Subtlety, but they had 5 cards in hand, so I didn't want to waste my spells. I shocked myself for 2 here, and it was probably the reason why I lost the game. I could have won if I didn't shock for 2 at this point. As I said, we were just passing turns. None of us had any pressure to put on the battlefield. Um, but they were low on life, so they were just waiting to have Murktide and Counterspell. So I just played my Subtlety here, and they played Dress Down Response, so their Murktide enters as a 3-3, which is not a large problem for me. Uh, so this player wasn't playing especially good, but just inability to draw better lost me this game, and they had a lot of these removals. Uh, and unfortunately they found another regent here, so 2 regents is definitely a problem. I had my solitude to destroy one regent. I was still drawing a lot of lands, which is unusual for this deck. So I had Dispute for their borrower, but they had another counter, and that was it. So pretty bad game, bad draws. Um, uh, that sometimes happens, and but it was this league was pretty close to 5-0, and it was just my second attempt with the deck. So I'm pretty satisfied how it goes for now. Before that, I played another league where I had 3-2. Uh, these two games I lost were pretty close, and I could have won both of them. We can maybe watch another two games I played with this deck. Uh, so we can see some more matchups. Okay, so having all these removals and okay, sorry, we will just this version. So this version is without subtleties. This first league that I went 3-2, and this is where I just put my 23rd land, left 2 Kira in, and and 2 Lavinias. Yeah, and this is where I played 2 Kiras and 2 Lavinias instead of subtlety. Which is also okay. Kira is great if your meta contains a lot of June the Grixis matchups, so then Kira is pretty good against them. Just playing a Cow turn 2, Kira turn 3 can be pretty powerful. As you could see in game against Shadow deck I lost. In that match, if I had like Kira, I would probably win that game. So um, was this? Yeah, so against Hollow Wine, I just played. Sorry, is this it? This is not it. Sorry, sir. Okay, so just a second. Just a second. I need to quit this. Okay, so game one, I just put my Chalice on one, and they conceded the game. Game two, I mulligan to 5, kept hand with the rest in peace. Drew again a Chalice of the Void, played my Chalice on one. They were stuck on one land, which is definitely game over for them. Okay, so next turn I just play Scion to block these creatures, and that was it. So Chalice is pretty good against Hollow Vine decks, and these were two pretty short two games with easy Chalice win. Turn two. Also, opponent was mana screwed, so that helped. And that was it. Quick games against Hollowine. And we can check this one more game. This was Proves games, and it was pretty fun games against Proves. So playing first with a pretty good hand, one cow and two sons. If I had a hand like this against that Death Shadow matchup, I would have definitely 5-0 that hand, that game. Yeah, these Cow-san hands are pretty aggressive always. Yeah, so I just play my shells, exile their soul scar, and that's it. They can't really do much. Against Shelif and removals and Kavu and Scion, it's definitely too much for them. Game 2 kept hand with many removals. It's a good hand when you're playing second. They definitely drew a lot of cards this game, so yeah, they did find the Magus of the Moon, and it was definitely a problem. Okay, so this situation was very tricky, and I decided to find my basic and play my spell queller and risk removal. I've also had Tavara in hand. So at this moment they played Reckless Impulse, one light up the stage, two light up the stage, three light up the stages, and one Reckless Impulse. So they did draw a lot of cards. So uh, they had they had the second Magus of the Moon, but I had my Solitude, so I just played it. Yeah, I just played my meddling mage on a lightning bolt, and at that point they conceded to the game. I also had my force of negation in hand and the Tawara, so that was it. Okay, that's it. We saw 7 games with this deck. Uh, I'm pretty well satisfied with subtleties in main. I think they became better in a current post-ban metagame, and I think they fit perfectly in this deck. So I'm very happy that my conclusion was to put subtleties in deck because I think they're great. Unfortunately, I had to remove Akira from deck, but Akira is not necessary uh, at this moment because there is not a large amount of I don't encounter a large amount of Jund Grixis matchups, and it's probably the best against those. But you will definitely play Kira if you are playing in a meta where you expect a lot of 4-color Omnat, a lot of Jund, a lot of Grixis, a lot of Murktide, and you can just cut 2 subtleties and leave 2 Kira main. That's the thing I'm still thinking about the most, to cut 2 subtleties for 2 Kira, but won't do it for now. I will play a few more leagues and then have my conclusion and maybe do another video of this deck after I do 5-0 with it, and I think it will be pretty soon because deck is doing pretty good against a large amount of matchups, and my second attempt was pretty close to 5-0, so I think it will happen pretty soon, and maybe I do another video with the final version of this deck to see if I will include Kira in the last version or not. I'm pretty happy with sideboard. It's similar as it was before, just Hidetsugu went to sideboard and only 2 copies now. And that's it, the 23rd land was necessary, but I think the situation with lands now is pretty good. Mm, you definitely need blue and white basic. Definitely don't want more than 1 copy of each shortland. You definitely want 2 triumphs, and you definitely want as many fetches as possible. I'm currently playing 12, that's great. And there's also space for Bosiju and the Tawara, which can be very important. So I'm very happy with this build. Only flex spots for me for now are these 2 subtleties, but everything else I'm sure I would play. I don't want to leave anything else, so only 2 spots are flex spots are these 2 subtleties, which could be 2 Kiras, it could be even 4th Chalice of the Void, um, and so on. So maybe a 3rd Teferi Time Reveler, stuff like that. But I'm pretty happy like this. I will definitely play a few more leagues like this, and if I don't. If I get another experience against some other matchups, then I may remove few of subtleties for something else. Okay, so that's it. Uh, hope you like the changes to the deck, and I try to explain uh, everything that can still possibly change with the deck for the future period of time. So that's it. If you're playing this at your LGS or something similar, you will definitely need to adjust it uh, because Hiretsugu can be very great, very good in this deck if your meta game requires it. The fairies can be definitely really good here if you are playing against a lot of control matchups. Chalice can be brutal. Then you can play a 4th Chalice main. March can be very good, so you could play maybe like 2 March of Otherworldly Lights, something like that. And that's it. Okay, so when I do 5.0, maybe I will do another video of this deck, but that's it for now.